warm welcome. Not to the Carbon Forestry course, that would take us too long, but I try to be as brief as possible and guide you a bit through our experience with transitioning this 3-week full-time course that we typically had in Freiburg, where people would really literally fly in from all across the globe to learn and exchange on carbon forestry. And of course, with the pandemic on the door and really prohibiting us to do this format, we had to be very creative, and I'm happy to share a bit of our lessons with everyone, and also happy to see your questions later and explore, so to speak. So it was already said, it's a course that we offer not only to students but also to practitioners. And of course, it's a high pressure if you have got people that are actually paying for a course, that they also want an online experience that is worth the money, so to speak. And even though we reduced the fee slightly, let me just, no, okay. Stuck in technology. Who would have thought? I'm working on Zoom half my life, I feel, but I just couldn't skip this slide in this call. What a tragedy. Okay, yeah, well, so you go from the classroom online. This is the platform that we use. I don't know if others are familiar with Elias. I'm probably not gonna spend the whole time diving into Elias and how it works, and because that's just simply too much detail, I guess. But basically, this is where the fun happened, or most of it. And we had the great pleasure to have some support from our Rechenzentrum, so the technical support team dedicated to improving e-learning experiences. And so we even had some surfaces where people new to the system, unlike our students, would really kind of be onboarded and kind of get familiar to the tool and so forth. And this was really done in the course of our course, basically. And participants further would find some sections on this platform really organized like we typically would do the module around certain themes. And then when they dived in, they would find lectures, videos, be exposed to some links, literature, external literature they could have a look at, but also exercises with deadlines and so forth, and some practices they could do. Yeah, so we tried to be really creative and install a lot of different things, from quizzes to surveys, and upload your tasks here, some peer review, forums where they could exchange on things, glossary and so forth, to really kind of have the impression of some sort of shared classroom, if you will. And also we did have, as usual in the course, some group assignment, which was really key for them to acquire all those key skills and technical skills that they needed for being carbon forestry experts, so to speak. And but that's the theory, so to speak, and all our nice ideas that we put into Elias. But what we realized fairly soon is that quite some people had problems with that self-study environment online, and so that kind of messy for us, it was completely clear how Elias would work, and you would do the video and then you would have your task, and they were like, when do I do what? I have no clue. When is the deadline? And I do have to do that in peer review, and by the way, I can't edit in Elias. So before then starting all those conversations one by one, we said, okay, let's try to be clear about these deadlines and when they have to do what. So we, for instance, prepared these infographics that you see here for all the different components, the group work, the field measurements, and so forth. But even that, after some presentations, didn't do the job, and we ended up with a very nasty but apparently super functional Excel table where they would find the date, when to deliver what, and that kind of made the game easier for them. But that's just the way it is. You find this new way of doing the things online, but realize the Excel table really is the rescue. Another issue that sure is a critical affair is technology, and what if technology doesn't work as you wish to. So a daughter may remember the first hours of the course when we realized, oh, Elias is offline, and we were all panicking, and they were going on and, oh, we're settling the thing, but what do we do? So we onboarded, just everyone had an account in this Elias platform, but it simply didn't work. So there was no access, and we said, okay, well, they are supposed to watch some videos now and do some exercises. So what do we do? And we basically put on a YouTube channel, a very nasty one, very quick, very dirty, poor quality of videos, but that did the job. It really did the job for the morning, and we got the consent from the lecturer very easy. And then servers were up again and things were running. But of course, you also have to consider that in some realms, and this is still the case in 2021, and I think it even happens especially in Germany, sometimes videos simply wouldn't load very quickly. And that's another thing that where this YouTube channel, the second one, kind of was a good backup option for some of the participants, at least. Yeah. What else? Yeah, I think for me the challenge number one is that kind of interaction feeling that you really, really need. You get these guys here, you get them some Mensa cards, so we typically charge them cards with quite a lot of money so they can have lunch together, and that really does a great job in terms of getting them together, really community building, so that they will also go on working together. But how do you do that if you're 100% online? And that really was something where we put a lot of thought into how can we have interaction, especially with the lecturers. So we did live Q&As on top of the videos that you would find online. We had different opportunities for some sort of speed dating between the participants, but also with lecturers. I even once showed up with a different background, so not my nice farm background as you see it now, but basically a shabby British pub. Yeah, and then I had some nasty Irish music playing very loudly, and I sent them to breakout rooms, and I gave them really, really horrible questions, like how far does a snail come in 24 hours in my garden? And then people had to guess, and that was big fun. Apparently I would have not guessed, but it's possible. So Zoom did a great job in terms of allowing us some nice interactions. We had my work chats. That was more of a quick and dirty solution, because I felt still we're not there, we haven't talked about it. You typically would go to a Freiburg bar and just exchange on your projects. And so one of the participants said, okay, well, I would actually like to talk a bit about my work. He worked really for an interesting organization, and I allowed them and said, yeah, why don't you do a presentation? Everybody was super interested in that. And I said, now we just heard of one of you, why don't we go around and each one tells a little bit about their work and what they do? And believe me or not, it took 4 hours until we finished thing, but not because we were so slow, but because it was so interesting, and everybody was chitty chatty with it. Oh, tell me more, what's that? And really kind of making up for that. And later on, people would also say these were the moments that I really appreciated a lot about the course, that I got to know people. Even though it was online, it really felt like we're a community, we're working together. And we also wanted to foster this. And so from the very beginning, when the course started, we opened up a LinkedIn group connecting everyone. We also asked, would it be okay to just start a WhatsApp group? And then things would really nicely go on there as well. Troubleshooting in the group, you could always see it. Somebody couldn't access Elias or find something, and then another person would share a screenshot, and really nice. And the good thing is, if you have that community built, you as a lecturer also kind of, exempt from the big hustle, because they're solving things by themselves and are connected. And I think that worked fairly well, and technology really was with us and on our side with that. So this is the background I used for the pub quiz. And yeah, coming to another challenge, I think that was something that also was spread a bit before, that this was really something for us, because as I said, typically we would fly people in, and the course is very interesting to many communities. So we do have participants that are located in Latin America, in the US, or in Asia. So this time we had participants from Cambodia, from Indonesia. We did have one from Brazil. We had two from the US, and spread across the globe, so to speak. A few, of course, also in Europe, and we organized the course such, as I said, that always groups work together on one project, and they really dive into depth of the project and do an assessment of that project, of course guided in some way. But it was really important that these groups meet occasionally and live, and that they really work together. But how do you do that if the one person's going to bed and the other one's just having breakfast? And so for these live conversations, which were really key and important for us, we first of all decided that all the live conversations with the whole group, we only schedule in a very tiny little time frame, which is basically around 1 p.m., which is literally very early for the US Americans, and already way after work for those in Cambodia or in Indonesia. And then what we also did is we organized the groups such that from within one zone, like the Latin America US community, we would have them in one group, and then we would have the Asian participants in another group. Of course, you kind of have to shuffle a bit around, so we had to find some people in Europe that are early birds to get them together with Asia, but that worked out fairly well. And we basically did it in Zoom, yeah? You know all how you do it with the commenting function. You show a map like this, and you just say, put yourself on the map. Where are you? Which time zone? And then you kind of can easily cluster them and find the groups, and everybody's taking it. And it's really fairly simple with the technology. And of course, also the technology we used, like Elias, was super helpful. We could install group areas, which was really their area, so to speak. This is for one of the teams, the team 3. And they could share here in forums, they could share files, they had a shared notepad, and especially they had their own communication room if they liked. The big blue button tool is what we used for that. And in addition to that, I used Mural Board, which is one of my favorite tools these days, I really have to say. This is the result of a workshop we did in a 1.5 hour slot, really a small slot, where we just had the group brainstorm. And the good thing is I could keep the board open, so to speak. Everybody could access it, and they could just go on working on it throughout the week. And you see wonderful results here. Yes, and challenge number 5. As I said, people come to Freiburg to learn how to do it. They really want to learn how to do, and carbon forestry is related. You may have thought, all right, what's that about? Maybe you're not a forester or related to the theme, but it is about measuring carbon as well. So really a very technical, practical exercise, going to the woods with your measure tape and whatever, and measuring the height and the diameter at breast height. And we basically would go in Freiburg to one of our sites, and we would show them how to do it. But how do you do that when you're on a computer and I don't know how many thousands of kilometers away, and everyone is in a different realm, so to speak, in a time zone? So then we said, okay, well, let's do it this way. If there are people in Freiburg, like some of the students, we go to our site. That's easy. But with Corona and the restrictions, we basically had to send them individually. And the same with the participants not in Freiburg, the non-Freiburg participants. We would also have to give them some instructions and learn how to do it, right? And so we said, okay, well, then let's do, first of all, this infographic that you see here. This was basically the whole idea with the different steps and when we would meet. And we would meet, and we would then give them instructions. And we said, okay, well, let's not overdo it, because we might end up with each one coming to us, oh, how do I do it? Let's team up. Let's try to bring 2 of them together and work through the preparations of their individual field trips. So both for the Freiburg people, I blackened the names here. I didn't know for data security reasons if I could share the names, but behind the black bars, imagine there are names, yeah, and we matched them, and we basically matched them together. I don't know if you see that on the right hand side, by pre-knowledge. So if we had some folks in the group that kind of have already an idea about how GIS works, how Google data is based, this whole mapping and satellite-based imagery, but also inventory itself, then we would like to have this person coupled with another person that is maybe not so familiar with these kind of technologies. And then we would send them to breakout rooms in Zoom and give them just these instructions. And you wouldn't believe, after half an hour, they clearly had an idea where to go. And they knew how to do it, and they knew what devices to take along, because we also had some material online prepared, and we asked them to have a look at that before. And so we felt they're in good hands with themselves, because some of them really were experts. And then we sent them off and were really and deeply impressed by what we got back. So we had a final date, as you may have seen in the infographic and the template. We had a final date where they had to report back how they measured and what carbon they measured in their little area. Typically it was a small area. And they shared this in a shared Google PowerPoint. They put all their nice pictures. You see it a bit in that picture. So these are the Freiburg crowd. This is the site we had in Freiburg. But also in the Netherlands. So this is actually not one forest, but two different forests in Europe, because it's very, very much beach. The ones on the left. So two of the participants met in the Netherlands, because they're both from Netherlands, and they said, okay, let's do it together. Brought even their family. Another lady from Germany found a little forest close by, and what you see on the right hand side is very impressive. That's a participant from Brazil. In the middle of the jungle, I shall say, went to the rainforest and measured some gigantic trees with an incredible carbon amount in them. And yeah, also people went to the forest in Cambodia. We had one measuring some trees on the Canary Island, and one in Cameroon. I think that's a plantation even. I shall leave it with these beautiful pictures and the kind of feeling of what's possible if you just meet occasionally virtually and have some good instructions, what is possible, and the learning that people can take out of such an exchange for us was very impressive. Also what we learned how to do it, actually. Yeah, that's it already. I think it's much more important to discuss now, and I warmly welcome everyone to elaborate maybe on their experiences, something they feel is worth sharing.